TV.
And welcome to a new episode of Next Week Today on St. Thomas-Elgin. I am your host, Kate Burns-Gallagher. We are in an all-new space once again for our show here at Elgin Harvest at 400 Sunset Drive. And we are joined by owner and pizza connoisseur, Cindy Bircham. Welcome to the show, Cindy.
Thanks, Kate.
So tell us about the journey to get here with Elgin Harvest.
Oh, what do you want, the long story or the short story?
Tell us your journey. Just tell us all about it.
Well, Elgin Harvest itself has probably been around for almost 10 years now. It began as a baking and preserve company, and I was doing lots of pastries and making jams and ferments. It slowly evolved into making sourdough breads and other pastries, but primarily using local ingredients, and hence the name Elgin, from Elgin County, Harvest, from harvesting all those local goods. After the baking aspect with the breads, the oven came along into my life, and pizza obviously became one of the focuses, and it just kind of evolved from there.
And why did you choose local, and why Elgin?
Local, first and foremost, it's like a no-brainer. It's whenever you get fresher foods, it's going to taste better. You're going to have more variety, it's going to taste better, and the other aspect is the economical and community support. By supporting local businesses and farmers, money stays within the community, and that's what I want to do.
So, as you say, it's a real no-brainer.
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
And why fire oven? Fire oven pizza, is that the term we use?
Wood-fired pizza.
Wood-fired.
Wood-fired, for one, because that's what I have. It's the obvious one. But also because it really adds a totally different dimension to the pizzas. It's a craft. It is. It's artistic. It's an artisan product. It's there's no gas, there's no propane. So in order to keep the heat up to bake the pizzas, you do have to keep feeding it wood. There's no switch, there's no dial. And I typically make artisan style pizzas or Neapolitan style, and they're characterized by those blackish brown spots on the crust of the pizza, which is called leoparding, and you can only get that at a high heat, which is around 875 degrees. So you can't do that in, just an electric oven.
No, I don't think my oven would go that high in my kitchen. Nor do I want it to.
A little bit smoky.
Yeah. So how did this oven find its way to you?
That's another long story, but it was one where, as I'm a trained chef, and focusing on those pastries, and I was going to farmers markets and offering baked goods to people. And it was a friend had come along and said, "You should come check out this oven." And I did, and I didn't realize it was a wood-fired, like this beautiful oven. And the owner of the oven, gracious enough, was, "You're a chef and you bake. Do you want to use my oven?" And I'm like, "Of course I do." And so I did, and that's how everything kind of evolved, and I started working, and I worked for the oven, and it's, now it's here.
That's incredible, and here is 400 Sunset Drive.
Yes.
How did you come to be here at this location?
Oh, wow. After kind of doing all the pizzas, went from the sourdough breads and then started focusing on pizza, decided that, something I didn't mention though was this oven used to be on a trailer. It was mobile. It was mobile for 7 years. And so I would tow this oven to different locations around Elgin County and beyond, setting up at farmers markets, Canadales, breweries, wineries, and we would be there baking pizzas and always looking for a permanent location, like a brick and mortar place. And it was tricky to do so because money is always the biggest issue, of course, but also finding somewhere that could accommodate this large oven because it weighs 3.5 tons. Wow. And so pandemic happened, and it's either am I going to stop or am I going to keep going? And I kept going, and this building, this space popped up on, Kijiji, one of those advertisements kind of thing when I was looking for a restaurant to rent, and everything just kind of fell into place from there.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the Neapolitan style pizza. What other kinds of offerings do you have here at Elgin Harvest?
Well, we keep our menu pretty focused. Staffing issues, like many other restaurants and retail places, is an issue. So we focus on pizza, but we also have a great selection of craft beers. We try to pick craft beers from the region that are higher quality, so not just your typical generic macro brews. We like to support local, so those smaller ones. We also offer desserts as well. We've just got a soft serve machine. So making our own base as well, so it's not a generic one as well. And yeah, we'll have a patio coming up in the summer as well.
Fantastic. And what days of the week and where can people find you more about you online? Or?
Right now we're open Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturday nights. Those hours will expand as we get into the warmer weather. And you can always find us at elginharvest.ca.
Amazing.
The website too.
Great, thanks Cindy, and thanks so much for your time and for hosting us. I'm really looking forward to doing our interviews with this amazing backdrop today.
You're welcome, my pleasure.
Thanks. We'll be right back on Next Week Today in St. Thomas-Elgin.
Still doesn't register right in my head. I mean, the largest industrial investment in Canadian history is happening right here in St. Thomas, Ontario.
Find out what's happening in your community by watching Strathroy Caradoc Council. Mondays at 6 p.m. on Rogers TV Channel 13 or streamed at rogerstv.com.
So I've been a volunteer with Rogers for roughly 5 years, going on 6 years now. As a volunteer, I've learned how to properly manage with certain situations, how to, even as simple as cable wrap, how to use higher end cameras, how to fix little problems that most people wouldn't know how to do. I've learned how to do audio for live events. My advice is just try it. If you like it, continue. If you don't, tell them and they'll work something out. But I've found I really enjoyed Rogers. It's everyone here is great. My producers are wonderful. They accommodate all my disabilities. So no matter what disability you have, you're accommodated quite well. Overall, it's just a really great place to be. I'm happy here.
Welcome back to Next Week Today in St. Thomas-Elgin. We are now joined by Kate Holt, supervisor at Canadale's, and Courtney O'Rourke, the talented marketing lead at Canadale's, to talk all things plants. Welcome to the show.
Thank you
for having us.
Can you tell us a little bit of history about Canadale's?
Yes, I'd love to. So Canadale was founded in 1955 by Bill and Joan Impin. When they purchased the property, they wanted to honor their new community and their new country, as they had just come over from Holland 5 years previously. And when they looked around at all the streets around Canadale, they all ended in Dale, so Southdale and Lyndale. And so they took Canada and Dale and put them together, and that's how they came up with Canadale. And really, in the beginning, it kind of started with Bill growing Ibolium privet, which is a deciduous shrub, in the fields, and Joan selling those from a wheelbarrow at the side of the road. And that was the beginning of Canadale. And from there, with their hard work and diligence, as well as with the support of the amazing local community, they were able to grow the business. And of course, in a family business, all the children were at one point or another involved, even if it was just weeding the fields after school. But two of their children, Tom and Pauline, took a real keen interest in the business. And they eventually took over, and they are currently the ones who own and run Canadale. And of course, lots of grandchildren, like myself, are involved, and we've been really, really lucky over the years as well to have many long-term employees join the Canadale family. But it was really Tom and Pauline who grew it into what it is, which is a really unique enterprise where we have a wholesale department that grows homegrown plants, mostly our woodies and some perennials, that our retail garden center can sell these homegrown plants to our local community. So something a little different.
That's an incredible story and how it's grown right here. I didn't know that about the name. That's really exciting. So what products and services do you offer out of the nursery?
Yeah, so we have one of the largest selections of plants in southwestern Ontario. We specialize in unique hardy shrubs and trees like our Japanese maples. But in addition to that, we have, like Kate said, we have tons of perennials, evergreens, fruit trees and shrubs. We have native plants. We have veggies and herbs. We have annuals. And one of the things that really makes our plants stand out from the competition is that we have a really great guarantee, and so you have confidence that you're getting a quality plant that's going to last for years to come. And then in addition to that, we have a variety of pots, soils, fertilizers, garden tools, home and garden accents, and giftware. So really we aim for that one-stop shopping experience for all of your gardening essentials. And one of the other things that is a great feature for our garden center is that we have a large design and inspiration gardens. So we have 18 unique vignettes that have been expertly curated by our staff. And so if you're looking at putting in a garden around your pool, if you're looking at putting in a shade garden or a pollinator garden, then we have these beautiful vignettes to help inspire and guide you. And when you're still not sure what you'd like to do, then we have, again, some really great staff that we've had on hand for a while, and it's over 100 years combined experience, I think. So they're able to help and guide you in that journey as well.
Yeah, I have to say, from my own experience being at Canadale, it's the staff and the knowledge. How do your staff get up to speed on all of the varieties?
There is a lot to learn, and we do get new additions every year, but we have quite an intensive training program because otherwise, there's a lot to know, and it's a steep learning curve, but we've been very, very fortunate with our staff. A lot of them have become family.
Oh, I can imagine after all those years. That's amazing. So what are some of the best plants for our area? Because we are in that Carolinian zone, right?
Yep. So that's kind of a challenging question to answer because the best plants for one yard are going to be different from another yard. So I will say the best plants for this region are at Canadale. But some things that you need to consider for your own situation is what are the conditions of your garden? So is it sun or shade? There's a lot of clay in this area. Is that something you're contending with? Is it windy? Because that's something that can affect a lot of plants that you don't always think about. So considering that, and then also considering the function of your garden. Is it a container garden or a veggie garden or a native garden, like you mentioned? Is it a pollinator garden or a full landscape? So like Courtney said, we do have some awesome staff who really love talking about plants and helping our customers find the best match. But we also have a huge selection of plants, including those natives or pollinators. And we also have an amazing selection of brand new plants for 2023 that we're super excited about as well.
Amazing. Well, thanks so much for your time, Kate and Courtney. We really appreciate you taking the time out of the busy schedule this time of year.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll be right back on Next Week Today in St. Thomas-Elgin.
I'm just finishing up my 5th year volunteering here with Rogers TV. I've learned all aspects of how to put on a TV show, both in front of the camera and behind, and working with some great volunteers, learning how we do everything in front and behind the camera. To me, being a volunteer is helping giving back to the community and making sure that we put on a quality program for our viewers to watch and being out there and making sure it's done properly. Just get out and volunteer. You'll have a great time. You meet a lot of great people, and you'll really enjoy it. And you'll, surprisingly enough, you'll get recognized out in the community for your volunteer work. There's not a day goes by or a week goes by that I don't find somebody who says, hey, I recognize you from doing this show or that show. So get out and volunteer. You'll have a great time doing it. And we're always looking for great volunteers, so don't be afraid to get out and help.
Hello, I'm Liz Dowdswell, Lieutenant Governor of Ontario. In 2008, carbon monoxide, a deadly invisible gas, killed an entire family in our province. That tragedy led to a new law requiring homes with potential CO sources to have alarms. John Gignac's family members passed away that day, and he shares his story to save others.
Please make sure you have working CO alarms in your home. Protect your family today.
Welcome back on Next Week Today in St. Thomas-Elgin. We are joined by Stephen and Janice Harvey, co-founders of Harv's Hike. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you.
So June is Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder Month, and you're hosting a hike. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. This is our inaugural attempt at raising some funds to help raise awareness and build community around the first responder and anyone who is in service of others that are suffering from PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And our goal is to raise enough money to train a service dog, which is a very expensive venture that we hope will support someone who is suffering from PTSD and help them on their journey to recovery.
Mm-hmm. And Stephen, what's the thought behind Harv's Hike? How did this start?
So our son Neil, whose picture is right here, was 39 when he passed away, and he passed away as a victim of PTSD. So he was a paramedic in Lambton County and was off work because of PTSD. And as he progressed through his condition, he found an application form online for a service dog through I've Got Your Back 911. And so he applied, and they were wonderful enough to grant him the money to have his service dog trained. So it was trained through Phoenix Canine Initiative, and basically Nash came into our lives in November. Unfortunately, Neil passed away in December, and so although Nash is still with us, he's not trained as a service dog now, but we wanted to give back, and because of that, we discussed different things with friends and people in the community, and decided that doing a walk and a hike, because Neil was an outdoors person, was an appropriate thing to do, and so that's where it came from.
Mm-hmm. So Janice, you mentioned the cost of training a service animal. What's that cost?
Yes, so outside of purchasing the dog itself, which can be quite a financial burden, the training itself costs anywhere from $25,000 upwards of $50,000. So it's a very large investment, and it can be from 1 to 2 years to train the dog. So it's an amazing benefit to those who are suffering from PTSD, but it's a little bit daunting for most people. It's out of a lot of people's reach.
No kidding. So Harv's Hike is fundraising to help first responders fund those service animals.
And the families as well, because of course, first responders are stricken with the condition, but it's the families who are also going through the condition with them. And there's not a whole lot you can do other than be loving and supportive. And so this is one way that people can do that.
Great. And who are your community partners who are partnering with you on Harv's Hike?
In Harv's Hike, community partners, I've Got Your Back is very much a supportive group who are encouraging us and providing us a lot of support, as well as Phoenix Canine Initiative, which is the training group. And then we also have people like the Ilderton Lions Club. I'm a member there. Our son-in-law, his law firm as well, is supporting us. And then some businesses in sort of North London at this point in time. But we're hoping that we will be able to bring more people in from the south as well, because this is something that affects every community. And I think that's really important for people. We're one small group doing one small thing, and there's lots of people out there trying to help people with PTSD. But this is an easy way to do your part to help the community.
Definitely.
Elgin St. Thomas Community Foundation is also helping
that's right.
us.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, they're really supporting us as well. So we appreciate their support.
Oh yeah, they're an incredible organization.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. And what are the details around the hike? Date, time, location?
Yeah.
The hike is on June 3rd. There's a registration process, so you go to harvshike.com
and there's a registration page that you go in. It's going to be on the 3rd, which is a Saturday. People can start arriving about 8. We'll start the walk at 9. And then it's a stroll through, we have a new track there at Medway High School in Arva, but we also have a beautiful park in behind. And so it'll be about a 2-kilometer trail that people can stroll. It's not competitive. It's a time to stop and think and share experiences with people. And so that's what we want. And so that's what we're doing. And it will go until about noon. And then we'll have some food trucks and some games and all that kind of stuff. So it'll be a good family time too.
That's incredible. So that sounds like a wonderful day.
It will, yes.
And harvshike.com.
Right. Yes.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you.
And for continuing the great work.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We'll be right back on Next Week Today in St. Thomas-Elgin.
Calling all journalism students, Omni Television is once again awarding scholarships to qualified students pursuing a career in third language journalism.
I would really like to thank Omni for this opportunity. And as a Brazilian student, this has been incredible for me because I have really learned so much.
Omni is home to a variety of locally produced current affairs programs and daily national newscasts, broadcast in 6 languages. To learn more about Omni scholarships, visit omnitv.ca/scholarships.
I started volunteering for Rogers last year in March, I want to say. So I grew up playing sports. I loved hockey growing up. My dad was a really big hockey player, so he got me into it, and I would always watch hockey games and that sort of thing. But I really want to branch out of my comfort zone, and that's what Rogers has also allowed me to do. I've learned to think on my feet really quick, how to kind of put myself out there in ways that I wouldn't before and just be fearless in terms of that. I would say just go, show up, do it once. If you don't like it, that's okay. You don't have to go again, but you might just absolutely love it. There's so much diversity and variety within that you can try, and you're almost just bound to find something that you're gonna love.
We are back on Next Week Today in St. Thomas-Elgin and are joined by Councillor Jim Herbert. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. This is being interesting for me to be able to speak a little bit about some things about myself and where we're going and in the direction the city's going. So, but anyway, thank you very much for that.
Great. Well, we're really lucky to have you. Tell us a little bit about who you are.
Well, who is Jim Herbert? That's probably an interesting thing, maybe to me, but maybe not to everybody else, of course. But I was born and raised in St. Thomas, and I grew up with a fellow named Jim Murray, and his father, Ben, was the superintendent of the Castle Station. So we used to get called up we were both named Jim, and he'd say, hey, Jim, the Chicago Blackhawks are coming through. And all the original 6 teams came through St. Thomas, and they stopped. So we got to wave at a whole bunch of them. So that was just growing up part. But I've been involved with umpiring baseball and fast pitch and stuff like that over the years, and do basketball too, and enjoy that. So I am currently married to Rita. We have 6 kids, 26th anniversary coming up, and we have 11 grandkids.
Amazing.
So that's a little bit about Jim Herbert, active.
That's incredible. When you think of the sheer number of people who have gone through that railway station, it's just mind-boggling.
I know what it looked like before they took all the insides out.
Oh.
I used to play out front in the park where the trees were there and the park was there.
Oh.
And as a kid, we rode our bikes through there. So
incredible.
Fantastic park. It was something we hoped could have happened later on, but it didn't happen. But anyway.
We all need grocery stores.
Yeah, no question. At least they put it this way, not that way.
Exactly.
Which I thought was impressive for them to do that. So thank you. Anyway, so that's a little bit about me.
Fantastic. And why did you choose to run for municipal government? Why City Hall?
Well, that's an interesting question. I've been involved with boards all my life. I'm a past president of the St. Thomas Curling Club for 10 years, whatever that was. I was on the Integris board for 8-10 years, past chair of that, past president of the Curling Club. And so I've always been involved in not politics, but involved in doing things on boards. And just 4 or 5 years ago, I was finishing up my last term, and I got thinking, this might be an opportune time to run for City Council. Never dreaming that I'd get on. Usually when you run the first time, there's 19 people running, you never get on. So I was very excited to get on. And I ran a second term and was reelected, and I enjoy it. Like I say, I love St. Thomas. I like getting involved in community things. I volunteer for things and Special Olympics and stuff like that. I'm always happy to go. I just enjoy it, so.
Wonderful. Now, we like to ask our politicians the Proust questionnaire, and so we pick a couple of questions. And for you, which living person do you most admire?
Well, as I said when I first met you for a second, that was an easy question until I saw living.
Right.
My mother and dad, of course. I mean, they're always mentors and things like that. So I had to think about it, and I've always admired Barack Obama. I think he was a trendsetter. He came in, he was in for 8 years. He did a lot of good things, Obamacare for the people and things like that. I'm not a politician for the U.S., but I liked what he did. He spoke well. You're never gonna, whoever you are, no one's gonna like you. It doesn't matter when you're president of the United States. It just switches back and forth, right? But no, so I really thought that he was a good person and family orientated and things like that. So he would be the one that I would pick off the top of my head.
He's incredibly inspirational, so that's I think, yeah.
You know, and I think he's respected worldwide, and he's still involved now. You know, still doing things, and because his heart's in for the people and for the country. So, but anyway, that's who I would choose off the top of my head.
Fabulous. And our last question: when and where were you happiest?
What and where was I'm happiest?
When or where were you happiest?
Well, you know what, I work out all the time at the Y. I'm happy when I'm healthy. To start off with, and there is, no matter how much money you got, no matter who you are, if you're not healthy, you don't have anything. So that's when I'm happiest, when I'm healthy. But my wife and I do a lot of traveling, Rita and I, and we've had the opportunity. We actually own a timeshare in St. Martin. We just came back from being there for 2 weeks. I'm happy there. I'm happy with the grandkids. My wife Rita's a lot better with the grandkids than I am. The youngest is, I think, 8 months now, and they were at our house yesterday, and Rita just loves them, and we go from there. But I don't know. I'm happy. I'm happy to be with people who are happy. You know, I don't like the downside of people.
Yeah.
You know, people who always complain. People who complain about politics. So my first question is, and I don't debate with them, did you vote?
Right.
Well, not only 30% of the people voted in St. Thomas or something.
Yeah.
That's 70% that doesn't want. I learned from day one, if you want to complain, you better vote. If you don't vote, don't say anything. So happiest, like I say, health is number one. You have to be healthy then you're happy.
Wonderful. Well, thanks so much for your time, Jim. We really appreciate you coming on the show. That wraps up our show today for Next Week Today in St. Thomas-Elgin. Until next time, I'm your host, Kate Burns-Gallagher. Take care.
Call the Rogers TV Viewer Response Line. Email us or connect with us on social media.
Calling all journalism students, Omni Television is once again awarding scholarships to qualified students pursuing a career in third language journalism.
I think all journalism students and aspiring journalists should take the time to learn more about third language and ethnic journalism, and I think the Omni Scholarship is a great way to raise awareness on that.
Omni is home to a variety of locally produced current affairs programs and daily national newscasts, broadcast in 6 languages. To learn more about Omni Scholarship, visit omnitv.ca/scholarships.
Hi, can I take your order? Hello?
Oh, hey. Wait, what was the question?
Let me guess. One driving high combo